Here is the first interview question of Angular. What is Angular? I know maybe you already know the answer, but I will answer it in a different and more elaborative way. By the end of the answer, you will be familiar with all basic terms used in Angular. See, this is the way web application works. Client with the help of browser will send the request to server and then server will get the data from the database and respond back. Now your browser understands three languages: CSS, HTML and JavaScript. Server languages are C Sharp, Java, PHP and many more. Now for building large and structured web applications, we need frameworks around these languages. For example, in server-side case, we have .NET Framework for C Sharp, Spring for Java and Laravel for PHP language. Similarly, at client side, we have Angular Framework. Why we need framework for client side? Because nowadays client side code is increasing and increasing. So we need a framework to structure the client side code also. Now here is the conclusion and definition of Angular. Angular is a component-based framework for building structured, scalable and single-page web applications for client side. We will discuss questions on component in upcoming questions. I already explained the importance of structured applications. Now every application should be scalable. That means it should open and flexible for any enhancements or upgradation in near future. That is scalable. Now what is single page application? Let's quickly see it. In single page application we only have one page and the body content of that page will be updated as per the request. Let me quickly show you this. See, here is a website. Now when I am clicking to the navigation, then this reload icon is turning to cross and it is reloading. Page is reloading here and redirecting to a different page, which means that here we have multiple pages and therefore it's not a single page application. Now let's see the example of single page application. See, here is youtube.com, the most popular one. Here when I am navigating, then this reload icon is not turning into cross, which means we have a single page here and only the internal components of the same, or we can say this page, are updating. But the whole page will never reload. This is the example of single page application. Here is the question. What are Angular advantages or why we need Angular? You know the answer, right? Angular builds single page applications. But as an interviewer, then I will ask you another question. We can make single page application in plain JavaScript also. Then why we need Angular then? So by the end of the answer, you will be knowing a detailed answer about the advantages of Angular and how to implement those advantages in Angular. That also you will come to know. So watch this. First advantage is with Angular, it is relatively simple to build single page application. Yes, we can develop single page application with JavaScript also, but it is relatively very simple to build single page application in Angular with the help of component based architecture, and that is the reason. Second benefit of Angular is Angular help us to make flexible and structured client applications. Nowadays client applications are getting bigger and bigger and we have to properly structure them. Otherwise later it will be difficult to support, maintain and scale them. Angular provides proper structure because it's OOPS friendly and you can create classes and interfaces in it. If you are from Java or C# background, you must be knowing the importance of OOPS, right? Same applicable in Angular also. If you are not familiar with OOPS, no problem. Later I will cover some questions on OOPS also. Next simple advantage is Angular is cross-platform and open source, meaning it can work with any operating system like Windows, Linux or any other, and also it is free to use. So that is the next advantage. Then reusable code is the next advantage of Angular. It means you can create code at one place and then use it at many places, which is a very good programming practice. Services in Angular is the way to create reusable code. Later, I will cover questions on services in detail. And the last advantage is Angular is good for testability. Unit testing is a very critical part in our applications. So Angular provides spec.cs files to cover it. We will also cover a separate question on this. Now you know what are the advantages and how you can achieve them by using what feature of Angular. For any queries on this question, please comment and I will surely respond. Now this question is related with Angular history and everyone likes history. What is the difference between Angular and AngularJS? By the end of this video, you will understand why Google replaced AngularJS with Angular. Here is the interesting short story. Google first released AngularJS in 2010 and then they realized that there are some shortcomings of it and therefore they rewrite the whole framework and named it Angular. They removed JS from the name because JS stands for JavaScript and now the new version can use TypeScript also. So the name of the new version is Angular only. Now in 2 minutes I will show you some main differences between Angular and AngularJS. First difference is AngularJS only supports JavaScript, whereas Angular supports both JavaScript and TypeScript. One benefit of this is you can see errors in TypeScript at compile time only, which is not there in the JavaScript. Second benefit is TypeScript support classes interfaces, which is good way of programming, but JavaScript don't support them. Second difference is Angular framework has a model view controller architecture, whereas Angular has a component-based architecture, and component-based architecture is much faster than MVC architecture. Then AngularJS does not have CLI tool, but Angular has CLI tool, with which you can easily create components, services and other things with the templates. The next difference and advantage is AngularJS does not use dependency injection, whereas Angular uses dependency injection, and dependency injection is a very good design pattern and I will cover a separate question on this soon. Then next difference is AngularJS does not support mobile browsers but Angular support mobile browser. And the last advantage or the difference you can say is AngularJS is not so fast. That's why Google replaced it with Angular. Angular is much faster because of its data binding technique and the component-based architecture. You can see Angular is like an upgrade over AngularJS. In upcoming questions, we will see questions on components, TypeScript, CLI tool and dependency injection in Angular. If you have any query about this question, then please ask me and I will be very happy to answer your queries. Here is a small question. What is NPM? Yes, you knew it. It is Node Package Manager. But how it is related to Node and Angular both? Why we install Node for Angular? By the end of this video, you will know about all these. So NPM is an online repository or you can say library for Node.js projects. Then what is the connection with Angular then? Actually, Google only has developed Node.js and Angular both. So they keep the libraries NPM common for both. That is why we have to install Node.js before we started working on Angular. Because Node.js will give you NPM and it is required for Angular development also. Now what is NPM? NPM or Node Package Manager is an online repository from where you can get thousands of free libraries which can be used in Angular projects. So these libraries can be used for Node development and can be used for Angular development also. See, here in the VS Code, this Node modules folder is provided by Node Package Manager only. The Node modules folder is used to save all downloaded packages from NPM in your computer. This is the answer of this question. If you have any queries, then ask me in the comment section and I will be very happy to answer it. Here is the question. What is CLI tool? I will not just answer it, but I will show you also. See, in VS Code we have this terminal window, and that is the CLI tool. What this window will do? From here you can generate components, services, modules, etc. for your Angular application. So the definition is, CLI is a command line interface tool that you use to initialize and develop Angular applications. For example, it is used in creating new project, creating new components, etc. Here we are creating the component test component, and the CLI will generate the scaffold, or we can say the whole component template for us. Let me show you how. See, write the same command and press enter here, and the component started generating. After generation, see here inside the source then app folder, we have this new component, test component, and all the files are automatically generated by the CLI tool only. That is the magic of the CLI tool. It will create the whole component structure for you. So that is the answer of this question. Hope you got it. Here is the question. What is TypeScript? What are the advantages of TypeScript over JavaScript? After watching this video, you can easily tell any interviewer that why we need TypeScript in this world. Let's understand with the help of a diagram. See, here we have TS as the TypeScript, and you can see TypeScript have type system, enums, generics, interfaces, and many more things. But JavaScript do not have those things. So this is the most important advantage of TypeScript over JavaScript. But the thing is, browser do not understand TypeScript code. So Angular compile or convert all the TypeScript code in JavaScript first and then run it on browser. Because browser do not understand TypeScript, and it understands JavaScript only. Now let's see all the points about TypeScript. What is TypeScript and why we need TypeScript? See, TypeScript is a strongly typed language while JavaScript is loosely typed language. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, which means all the JavaScript code is also a valid TypeScript code. TypeScript has object-oriented features like classes, interfaces, etc. Whereas JavaScript do not have object-oriented features. TypeScript detect errors at compile time, whereas JavaScript detect errors at runtime only. Now let me show you the reasons behind all these points. First point is, TypeScript is a strongly typed language. See, this is a TypeScript file, strongly typed.ts. Here we have declared a string with let keyword and then assigned a string value to it. Now if I will try to assign an integer value to it like this, then TypeScript will show compile time error. That means this variable is strongly typed to a string now and cannot be converted to any other type. This is a very good thing. Otherwise, in future anyone can assign any different type value to it. And that will not show any compile time error, but will break the application in runtime because that is not the correct way, right? Now JavaScript is not strongly typed and it is loosely typed. Let me show you this. First compile and convert this TypeScript file to JavaScript file. For that, open terminal, type tsc strongly typed.ts strongly typed.js. This will convert this TypeScript file to JavaScript file. Yes, there is an error in this TypeScript file, but still the JavaScript file will be created. Now see here in the JavaScript file which is created, there is no compile time error. And you can assign any integer value or any other type to it, which is not a good thing and which means JavaScript is loosely typed. That means TypeScript is a strongly typed language and that has the advantage over JavaScript. Second point is TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, which means TypeScript have all the things which JavaScript have. In addition, TypeScript have some extra things. See, here is the JavaScript code inside the TypeScript file, main.ts, right? This is the JavaScript code, right? Now let me compile this TypeScript file to JavaScript file. Open terminal, type tsc main.ts main.js and press enter. And here the main.js file is created, right? And if you see the code of the main.js file, this is similar to the main.ts file. So that means that valid JavaScript code is also valid TypeScript code. And in addition to that, TypeScript provides some additional features like classes interfaces over JavaScript, which means TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. Third point is TypeScript has object-oriented features. See, this is test.ts file and we have a class and a method inside it. Now who all are from C# Java background, for them it will be very easy to understand. If I will convert this TypeScript file to JavaScript file, for that open terminal, type tsc test.ts test.js, press enter, and then this test.js file which is created. See, this is bit complex code to understand. That's why we say TypeScript has object-oriented features like classes, inheritance, encapsulation, etc. etc., which is a very good thing from building software's point of view. Now the last point is TypeScript detect errors at compile time. This I already explained in strongly typed language point, right? TypeScript here detect errors at compile time and JavaScript don't. That is another advantage of TypeScript over JavaScript. See, here I covered all the main advantages of TypeScript. If you have any queries about this question, then please post in the comment section. Here is a very short question. Where to store static files in Angular project? Sometimes interviewers ask this kind of one-word answers also. And the one-word answer is inside the assets folder of the Angular project. There we store the static files like images. Now let's go to the next question. What is the role of angular.json file in Angular? This is again a quick answer question. Let's explore. The angular.json file is the primary configuration file for an Angular project. So it contains all the important file links in it. See here the assets links, favicon, index.html, main.ts, polyfills.ts, styles.scss. All files of the projects are registered inside this angular.json file. So like you have a index in the book, similarly this file is like the index of the Angular project. So this is the short answer of this question. Here is the question. What is the difference between JIT and AOT in Angular? This is a very good question from interview perspective. Let's explore the answer. Yes, we know this. Both JIT and AOT are used to compile Angular TypeScript components to JavaScript because browser understands JavaScript only, not TypeScript, right? So what is the difference? The difference is JIT, which stands for just-in-time compiler, compiles your application in the browser at runtime. Remember runtime. And this was the default compiler for Angular until Angular 8. Whereas AOT, which stands for ahead of time compiler, compile your applications and libraries at build time. Remember again, build time. And this is the default starting in Angular 9. Any application first builds and then it runs on the browser, or I can say first it is build and then run. Right now AOT is the default and preferred way for Angular compilation. Now let me show you the example that how JIT compiles at runtime and AOT compiles at build time. See, here in the Angular component we have this title field, and then we have this interpolation at HTML template file. Now in the component file I will comment this title field, and now I will build the application by writing ngserve in the terminal and press enter. See, it has thrown the error because by default this Angular application is set to AOT compilation, and while compiling by AOT, the build has identified that there is an error in the application. In a way, it is good for developer that he knows in advance that there is a build error and the project is not good for deployment. Now we will change this default AOT compilation to JIT compilation in this Angular project. For that, go to angular.json file, and there is a development property under build property. Here we will set AOT equal to false. This will disable AOT compilation and enable JIT compilation. Now let's stop the project by pressing Ctrl C, then type ngserve again and press enter. And see, the result is compiled successfully because right now the active compiler is JIT, and JIT will compile at runtime, and therefore it will not detect any error at build time. So that is the difference between JIT compiling and AOT compiling. JIT compile at runtime and it will not be able to detect failures at build time, and AOT compiled at build time, therefore it is able to detect errors at build time only. This is the answer of this question. If you have any queries about this question, then I will be very happy to answer, as my name is Happy.